Hi there, I'm Sara Sheehan, and welcome to my podcast, Transformational Thinkers with Sara Sheehan. Does love make business better? Yes, it certainly does. Not sentimental love, but humanistic love and compassion can aid in employee health and well-being, nurture collaboration with competitors, develop better relationships with investors and suppliers, and increase efficiency, productivity, and the bottom line. Today, I'm speaking with Dr. Bruno Cignacco, a pioneer in compassionate business practices. Bruno is an esteemed international business consultant, TEDx speaker, lecturer, and best-selling author with over 30 years of experience. In today's episode, we delve into Bruno's latest book, The Art of Compassionate Business, Main Principles for the Human-Oriented Enterprise. This book challenges long-held assumptions about business dynamics and offers a refreshing perspective on how companies can operate more humanely and with humanistic love. Bruno shares insights on how to view employees as individuals, embrace competitors as collaborators, and foster creativity within a compassionate business framework. Get ready for an enlightening conversation that could transform the way you think about business.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining me here today, Bruno.
Thank you, Sara. Thank you. I feel very honored to be here.
I am so glad to be engaging in this conversation. Compassion in business is a topic that literally no one is talking about. So I am super intrigued with what you're doing, and I want to amplify your message.
Thank you.
So tell me, Bruno, is there a way to perform business activities in a more humane way?
Yes, there is, of course. Thank you for the question. We can first define compassion because many people might think about compassion in different ways. Compassion can be defined very simply as an attitude toward other people where you understand how they think, you understand how they feel, and you try to support them, especially when they face challenges. This concept of compassion can be applied to business because you will be related to colleagues in the workplace, you will be related to customers and other stakeholders like suppliers, community members, business partners. And being compassionate, according to research, bring about a lot of benefit that then we will enumerate much more in detail. But what I observe that many companies tend to focus only on what I call the quantitative aspect of business, what can be measured, what can be precisely counted. For example, market share, productivity, profitability. These are what we call the economic parameters of business, or what make a company successful, economically speaking, in the marketplace. And they're very important, but they, in many cases, dismiss what I call the qualitative aspect of business, what cannot be measured precisely, what cannot be counted. For example, compassion, camaraderie, commitment, engagement, generosity, gratitude, and this qualitative aspect of business, what cannot be measured, cannot be counted precisely, build strong, long-lasting relationship with different stakeholders. And why is so important? Because we can mention Stephen Covey, a very important thinker in management, that he observed that the very important principle in life and in business is interdependence. No company can succeed without stakeholders. No company can succeed without customers, without employees, without community members, without suppliers. So when you build a strong relationship with these stakeholders, this economic indicator, profitability, productivity, efficiency, market share, tend to be achieved naturally. Instead, when you focus only on these economic indicators, in many cases you tend to achieve these indicators and you try to achieve this indicator by all means. In some cases, in a very unethical way. For example, exploiting employees, polluting the environment, deceiving customers, developing win-lose agreement with suppliers. And obviously, when you behave in this unethical way, in this unkind way, how you expect this stakeholder to support your company? No, they will withdraw. They won't cooperate. In some cases, supply will look for other companies. Employee might work for competing organizations. Customer might leave negative reviews. So this means that being compassionate implies building a strong, long-lasting relationship with these stakeholders and creating a balance between the qualitative aspect of business cannot be measured precisely, camaraderie, compassion, generosity, and quantitative aspect of business, what can be measured precisely.
Thank you very, very much for that. I know that fear is a very powerful emotion and it can derail many people right in the middle of being in productive flow. Why does fear in business prevent people from being kind?
Very interesting. First of all, we want to define fear. Fear is a contractive emotional state. When people feel fearful, they feel fear, they tend to act in a defensive way, in a very non-proactive way. Why? Because they look for threats in the environment and they tend to adopt what the psychologists call fight mode, which implies that we are looking for something to defend from, something that could be threatening. The type of fear that are in the workplace are, for example, fear of being fired, fear of making mistakes, fear of, for example, being outpaced by colleagues, fear of acting in an innovative way. So this means that when you have fear in the workplace tend to be psychologically unsafe. People cannot be themselves. They cannot cooperate. If workplaces where there is a lot of fear, they are not trust-based workplaces. And people act in a very defensive way. This means that they don't like to share resources with others. In some cases, they are competing with each other. And this creates a lot of inefficiency. Why? Because the cost goes up in a way that people don't share resources. In some cases, they want to put everything in writing. Imagine you don't trust your supply. You might write a very detailed contract. You might contract lawyers to check that all the conditions are very clear. Why? Because you don't trust. You are fearful of this supplier deceiving you. Well, when there is fear, not only people do not cooperate, but they tend to withdraw. And when people are fearful, they cannot be compassionate because they are incompatible states. And when they are fearful, they cannot be innovative. Why? Because there is a lot of research on innovation and creativity. People tend to be innovative and creative when they have much more expansive emotion. For example, joy, than when they have more contractive emotion like fear. Why? Because when you are fearful, your discerning skills are temporarily impaired. You think about the threat, you focus on the threat, and you don't think about how to become more productive because it's not relevant at that moment. You don't think about how to become much more innovative because you try to defend yourself.
We were just talking about fear and about how fear keeps people from being kind. Moving forward, what kinds of fears do you see in the workplace?
Yes, as I mentioned, there are different types of fear in the workplace. People are fearful of being fired. People are fearful of making mistakes or fearful of being outpaced by other colleagues. And also, in some cases, people are fearful of not abiding by the consensus in this organization, what we call groupthink. They are fearful of dissenting with others. So, and this fear brings about a lower productivity, lower creativity, lower trust, and this brings about a negative impact on the economic results because when people are fearful, they cannot be proactive, they cannot be productive, and they cannot be innovative.
This is a great conversation. And so when I think about fear in the workplace, I often think about situations where employees are fearful of layoffs or they're fearful of retribution from a certain situation, something that comes back to harm them. And when I think about situations where either I've had fear or I've seen fear in others, it's always been an unproductive situation. It's a very powerful thing to make sure that leaders are cluing into how people are feeling and trying to get them on the positive side
So
of the
true.
equation. That's very powerful because it will help your people be more productive. It's a great point. Moving forward, what would you say are economic impacts from being more human oriented in business?
There are some research studies that observe that when you have a loving workplace, and here we're talking about love in a humanistic way, so which includes some byproducts such as compassion, empathy, support, care. When you have a loving workplace, employee satisfaction goes up, customer satisfaction also goes up. Why? Because employees that are satisfied, employees that are happy, they are content, they are fulfilled, tend to serve customer in a much more effective way. They look for the happiness of this customer. But also in these workplaces that are supportive, they are kind, they are trust-based, there is lower absenteeism, lower stress levels, lower turnover, and all these factors impact positively on the bottom line, which means profits. Companies also reduce the medical bills. Why? Because people get less stress,
They're
and
healthier.
they're healthier and like to go to work. They don't go only for the salary, because they go also because they feel that they're making a meaningful contribution to this company and to a stakeholder in general.
That is a powerful message. Love is good for business. Caring for your people is going to pay dividends in your business. So powerful. So let's transition to talk a little bit about manipulation and how that impacts the environment at work. There is a huge proliferation of manipulation in the business world. Why do you think that is?
Well, manipulation implies generally acting without integrity. So this means that every time that a company adopts a manipulative strategy, this company is more prone to act without integrity. And integrity implies acting with transparency, acting with kindness, acting with supportiveness, and manipulation is the opposite. Some example that you see of manipulation is when companies consider customers not as human beings with legitimate needs that need to be acknowledged and need to be addressed and satisfied whenever possible, but they consider these customers as specific figures in the database of this company that will make this company profits. So they don't care so much about the customer needs, but they care about the profit that they can obtain from this customer, and customer feel utilized. And this company, in some cases, when they acting in a manipulative way, they use deceptive strategies. They try to force customer into buying certain product that they don't need, or in some cases they're not transparent with the terms and conditions. They have a very nice fine print that is hidden in the contracts to deceive customer when they have problems. In some cases, the companies are grateful when the customer buy from them, but then they leave this customer to their own devices. When they have problem with the product, they don't sort out these problems at all. But also, employees can be manipulated. They can be considered as cogs in the company's machinery.
That's right.
This means that when they are faulty as part of this machinery, this employee need to be replaced. They're not considered as human beings, that they have some challenges, problems, they have emotions too, they have emotional needs, they have social needs, mental needs, besides economic needs. In some cases, employees are considered only as resources, and resources can be used and can be used in excess. Instead, employees are human beings, and they are the most important resource that the company can resort to. Why? because employees are meta resources. They are resources that help the company generate other resources. Employees can help the company generate new products, innovative services, new business models, new processes, systems. So employees should be taken care of, because when you take care of employees, these employees will take care of customers. So most companies get profit from customers. But also another point to highlight that many companies consider employees like costs.
Yeah.
Costs that need to be reduced. So
right.
we're affected by the recession. We need to cut off the costs. What are the ones suffering from this cost cutting? Employees. And employees don't feel appreciated. In some cases, the company take for granted these employees. And
I would agree with that.
micromanage these employees. This means that they treat these employees as little children, naughty children that need to be educated, that need to be supervised continually. They don't give this employee the autonomy. It's very important for every employee to decide the best way to act in every situation. So these employees are feeling manipulated and unappreciated. And these employees, when they find better job opportunities, even
That's
job
right.
opportunities that they will have lower salary, they will look for this opportunity, because in other companies they might have not only the economic needs met, but they will have emotional needs met. They might feel appreciated, they might feel supported, they might feel valued, and they will have also social needs. They mean connecting to others, having meeting with colleagues inside work and outside the workplace. So these employees are not resources to be used and abused, but they are human beings with legitimate needs.
Yes, absolutely. I love the detail that you went into there. It's super helpful. And so, one of the questions that really comes to mind as we talk about people and how they are impacted by manipulation, and how if your employees are happy, they are going to also make sure that your customers are happy. They're going to go the extra mile. When I think about these concepts, it immediately makes me think about having a strong and productive sales function. And so I'd love to hear from you about what the human centered approach is for building an amazing sales function.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Well, we have to change the paradigm, because most of the companies have a sales paradigm. And in my research, I use a different paradigm, a completely different way of seeing business and seeing the relationship with customer. I call the service paradigm. This means serving customer. Instead of trying to sell products to customer, you try to serve customer. Being obliged in being of service doesn't mean servitude. This means that you look for the best for this stakeholder, for customer. You try to be less self-centered and try to focus on the customer needs. This means that you try to find out what the customer needs are first, and try, if possible, to meet these needs, and if possible, to exceed these needs. This means you try to delight customer. This means giving them more than they need. This means that
Surprise
you try to be
and delight.
Surprise and delight. Try
I
to
love that, yes.
engage them in a positive relationship, in a long-term relationship. You don't adopt a transactional approach, means one-off sale,
Yes.
but you try to build a long-term relationship and try to assist customer not only before sales, during the sale process, and post-sales.
And after, yes.
Exactly. And also, customers that are responding to this approach where the company try to delight them, feel that the company care for them. And these customers tend to respond very positively. There is a lot of research on delight and customer service, and they observe that when customers are delighted, they're more prone to become loyal to this company. And they're more prone to leave positive reviews. They're more prone also to recommend this company's product to other customers, and they might become silent or overt ambassadors of this company's product, recommended silently or in close circles to friends, but recommending this product overtly, for example, using social media to other potential customers.
Absolutely. Become an influencer. Absolutely. And so I just want to double click on one of the terms that you use just to make sure that it's really clear. Is it a service principle? Is that what you were mentioning?
The attitude of service or attitude of serving customers.
Yes, I couldn't agree more with that. I could not agree with that any more. Why are generosity and gratitude not part of business anymore?
Yes, because people are focused on the urgent. This means that first off, they are not focused on building a strong relationship with stakeholders. Why? Because they have, in many cases in the workplace, they have tight deadlines, they have multiple projects that are complex, and in some cases with very urgent delivery of this project. But in practice, in many cases, people believe that being generous is giving only tangible things to others. For example, if the company is generous with employees, they might believe that it's only paying bonuses according to the employee's performance. But a company can, for example, a boss in the workplace can be generous with their subordinates in different ways. For example, giving them intangible things. For example, if the manager sees that the employee is worried, concerned, this manager can give an ear and listen to these employee concerns to see if they have family problems or health problems or some issues at home, in order that they can provide with some support, for example, flexible time or Sundays off and so on. They can give some coaching, they can give some mentoring, they can give technical advice, they can provide this employee with valuable information about training or workshop or seminars. So they can give thanks to this employee for their contribution. So generosity and gratitude are very connected. And in practice, most companies are focusing on obtaining, not on giving. Obtaining market share. I want more profit as a company. I want more customers. And there should be a balance between obtaining and giving. Most companies are focusing on themselves, on obtaining, on getting wealthier, bigger, more productive. But there, as anything in life, there should be a balance between being self-centered and being centered on others. So when you are generous, you are focusing on the well-being of others. And this helps generate a positive cycle of generosity. About gratitude, we can comment about some study that when people are thankful to others, these people are feeling more engaged in the workplace. They feel connected. Why? Because they feel that their contribution counts.
Absolutely.
They feel valuable as employees, and they feel that they're making a difference, to the positive difference to the company's mission and to the world in general, to different stakeholders, bringing about more well-being to different stakeholders, customers, and other employees, and so on. Instead, when people are acting in an ungenerous way, they tend to be much more self-centered. What is in for me? And this is not the right question. When you are generous, is how can I help others? How can I support others? And this helps being generous build strong and lasting relationships. Also, when people witness act of generosity, they tend to be infected by this act in a positive way. They tend to become much more generous. So this means that generosity begets more generosity.
Yes, I've noticed that.
When people are not generous, tend to become, or people around tend to follow this example, being stingy or self-centered.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you're giving and you're willing to share with others, they are going to be willing to pay it forward. I've seen quite a bit of that in my career, and I feel like it is so very powerful to be generous and kind to others. And I want to see that repeating cycle where it repeats in the future.
Very interesting. I want to comment about very little experience. I'm half Italian, and I used to drink a lot of cappuccino. And here in London, there are many coffee shops that are very famous, big chains. And I went once to a coffee shop, and I talked to the waiter, and the waiter told me, "We will bring the coffee to your table. Don't worry, there will be a couple of minutes." 15, 20 minutes later, they came with the coffee, and the coffee was cold, delivered late. I went to the competing company 2 days later, and the same, similar type of cappuccino. As cappuccino, they told me, "Go to the table, we'll bring the cappuccino to your table." And when they left the cappuccino on the table, the waiter, 2 minutes later only, very short time, and they forgot the tray with biscuits. I said, "Sorry, you forgot the tray with biscuits. I didn't order this." No, no, this is not a mistake. This is for you. It's a gift from the house to enjoy your cappuccino. Look at the difference. The first company
Nice
couldn't
touch.
even meet the basic needs, bringing a cappuccino on time and hot. The second company look at the detail. Small detail count. How much this biscuit costs this company? Probably a few cents, but in practice make a lot of difference. Why? Because the company tried to focus on my satisfaction. They were acting in a non-manipulative way. They were trying to exceed my need. And I enjoyed this biscuit because they were the perfect match with the cappuccino. And which company do you think that I still go and have a cappuccino? Well,
I
the
think you
second.
go to the latter.
Yeah, exactly. So this means that
Yeah,
generosity make a lot of difference.
that is a wonderful example. Truly, I very much appreciate that. Talk with me, Bruno, about what big goals and aspirations you're currently working on right now.
Well, we are training companies on compassionate business, and also I'm working on my new book that I cannot reveal the topic because of confidentiality. I continually research on business topics, and also I'm teaching at various universities here in the UK. And my goal is to disseminate these ideas as much as possible, and also maybe in 20 years' time we will talk again and all companies will be compassionate and this topic will be completely outdated, but a dream would have come true. And hopefully this will come.
Absolutely. Well, I know you're going to make a difference because you're going to help people to understand that when they stay in a negative mindset, they're only hurting themselves. And they really need to think about how their people feel around them and doing things so that you're creating an environment that's motivating and engaging. If you care about your people, your business will take care of itself.
So true, so true. I completely agree. And doesn't take a lot of time to be compassionate. There is a very interesting piece of research that observed that take very short time to engage in a compassionate conversation with others. For example, in the health sector, for example, there is a case of doctors that were to go through a serious operation with some patients that were very critical, and these doctors engaged 1 minute conversation with this patient, only 1 minute conversation with this patient before the operation, because the patient were very anxious, very stressed. When they went through the operation, they noticed that this patient needed less anesthesia as compared with the patient that didn't have this 1 minute conversation, soothing conversation. And also the recovery time was shorter for this patient that they have only 1 minute compassionate conversation with the doctor. Why? Why? Because they felt more supported, more
That's
assisted by this
incredible.
professor. This is very incredible. So this means that compassion is not only supporting others, but has very tangible effects,
It has physical,
mental and emotional.
medical benefits that will help you recover faster in an operative situation. My goodness, that is just phenomenal. I know I've always preferred to work with doctors that are better on the bedside manner side, and maybe that's a window into why I've always been motivated in that way. That is truly fascinating. Well, now I would like to ask you, Bruno, what does being a transformational thinker mean to you?
Being a transformational thinker means to me that, I have got some good examples of transformational thinker, such as Stephen Covey and also Peter Drucker. Transformational thinker implies making a difference in the world. Small or big difference does matter. Why? Because the propagation of this idea bring about small ripple effects, but this ripple effect compound. And I strongly believe that anyone can be compassionate in organization regardless of the role. Doesn't matter if you are the CEO or you are the janitor cleaning the toilet, you can always bring about positive influence and bring about positive role model that will allow others to emulate this model and also bring about wider effect in this organization. So this means that the transformational leader bring about ripple effect that bring about at the end bigger impact on organization, but also on the organization environment. The cases that I mentioned in the book about companies that are compassionate, they're not only bringing about a better workplace, but also they are bringing about a better world, better relationship with the environment, better relationship with suppliers, better relationship with the community member, better relationship with customer, and so on. So this means that they bring about what the expert call win-win-win-win agreements. Everyone wins. Nobody wins at the expense of others.
Yes. Having mutually beneficial situations across the board, that is a very powerful way to engage with others. When everyone wins, it makes everyone excited to engage, and that is a very positive energy. It just makes me smile and light up when I'm thinking about it. I want to work with people that want win-win situations, and additionally, I want to help people win.
So true.
Too.
So true, because imagine if there is a win-lose agreement, the relationship won't prosper, won't thrive. Why? Because nobody wants to be in a relationship, business relationship or non-business one, where one wins at the expense of other. It's unfair.
Absolutely.
And they might feel manipulated. Instead, when people are centered of developing this agreement that are mutually beneficial, the relationship not only prosper, but tend to become stronger over time, much more solid, much more robust.
Yes. Yes. We've had a fascinating conversation today. Is there anything that's coming to mind that you would like to share?
Yes. I want to share a couple of self-reflection questions for the listeners, so to implement this in a very practical way. I feel that any of the listeners could ask themselves this question on a regular basis. Doesn't matter that they are the CEO or working as an employee in this organization in any level. How can I be more compassionate with different stakeholders? How can I be more compassionate with my colleagues? How can I be more compassionate with customers and with any other stakeholder that I'm related to? But also, how can I support them when they face difficulties? How can I be more generous and how can I be more grateful to them for their contribution? And also, this is a very important point to think about this, because any of the listeners can make positive impact on the internal environment of the company, the workplace, and the external environment too.
That's a wonderful thought to end on. I love the thought-provoking nature of just reflecting on how can I be more generous? How can I do more for others from a truly authentic place in my heart? That is a very powerful reflection. I thank you so very much for that. Can you tell me how our listeners can find you?
They can find me on LinkedIn, or they can find me, for example, they can check one of my website, www.brunocignacco.com, with double C. They can find my books, for example, The Art of Compassionate Business can be found online or offline. The second edition is with white cover and includes hundreds of examples of compassionate organizations from different sectors and sizes.
Fantastic. I thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining this wonderful conversation today with Dr. Bruno Cignacco. We dove deep into the art of compassionate business, where Bruno shares invaluable insights on how compassion can revolutionize the workplace and drive success. The three big takeaways from today's conversation. First, embrace compassion alongside productivity. Dr. Cignacco emphasizes the importance of integrating qualitative aspects like compassion, camaraderie, and engagement with quantitative ones such as productivity and profitability for a thriving business. Second, foster a loving workplace. By cultivating compassion, empathy, and support, companies can boost employee satisfaction, reduce absenteeism and turnover, and create a ripple effect that positively impacts customers and profits. Third, practice generosity and gratitude. Generosity in the workplace goes beyond tangible rewards. Intangible acts like listening, mentoring, and providing support can create a positive cycle that builds strong and lasting relationships with employees and customers alike. This conversation is absolutely groundbreaking. No one is talking about compassion in business, and I would love to create a ripple effect of not only people talking about being compassionate in the workplace, but the actual manifestation of more compassion at work, where people are actually caring about their employees and their businesses thrive at a much higher level. As always, subscribe to Transformational Thinkers with Sara Sheehan and never miss an episode.